Everybody for coming this evening. My name is Troy Rappold. I own a property management company called Rappold Property Management. Original, I know. This is Levi Lolich. He is the maintenance manager of said company. We manage about 440 properties right now, all over the greater Portland area. Gresham, Hillsborough, North Portland, perhaps even Canby now, but Wilsonville for sure, and all points in between. I've been a board member of the Rental Housing Association now for a total of 4 years. I believe in the association very strongly. It's great, does a lot of benefit for landlords, and this continuing education is one of the benefits. There's a lot of classes that the association offers. This is a fairly new one. Levi and I have only taught this class. This will be the 4th time, and we tweaked it a little bit. So part of your handouts that you have that were on the seat is a report card for us. So please take your time after the class is over to fill that out. Say what was good, what was bad, what you wish we could add, because it's so new. We can change it as we go along here. As I mentioned, we're being recorded for all new members. This will be part of their membership. So feel free to still be interactive, though. Ask questions as we go along. A word, though, about the scope of the class. It's going to be talking about inspections, and because maintenance goes hand in hand with that, we will be talking a little bit about maintenance as well. But the angle of approach on the inspection is with a rental property with maybe a tenant currently in there, or perhaps getting ready to move in there or move out. It's not the home inspection that you might be familiar with when you're looking to buy a house. So it's more for landlords. How many in the room currently have a rental property? Great, perfect. So this class will be very applicable, hopefully, for all of you. Okay, some more handouts. And I know you all have about 7 or 8 sheets of handouts. And so let's talk a little bit about that. One of them looks like this, but I believe it's black and white. It just says "Dear Tenants" at the top with the November 2010 date. This is just an example for you. You can use it, plagiarize it, tweak it as needed, but what it is a letter that we send out November 1st of every year to the tenants, reminding them that colder weather is coming, and then some good common sense things to keep in mind with the colder weather, pipes and whatnot. So feel free to read that and use that as possible. It's not required, but I think it's a good practice in our cold climate that things do happen in the winter time that tenants may not be aware of or may not care, but you as the owner of the property, this might benefit you greatly. Same thing for the next one, summer preventative maintenance checklist. We'll be talking about that later on, but we do this as we go around and do some inspections. So you can change it, use it, throw it away, your choice, but it should be helpful for you as you do summertime activities with your rental property. We're right on the cusp of that, so I'm sure everybody's already cut the grass once or twice at least. Okay, a couple other side notes here. I want to mention just a word about fair housing. That's been a real hot topic in our city recently because there was a study done. The study came back, and what was on that study was like, hey, there's a lot of landlords in the greater Portland area that are practicing discrimination. There's a big uproar and pushback against that study that says, no, this study was not that accurate, and this was the reasons why the tests were not accurate. It's not a true reflection of the landlords in the greater Portland area. And so a whole another study has been commissioned to reinvestigate, is fair housing occurring in the greater Portland area? Is there discrimination, and how prevalent is it if it is going on? That study is going on right now, and so I, as a property manager, am really careful with all my staff to make sure that you are answering the phone correctly, you are treating everybody fairly. We offer a fair housing class, this association, and also the Fair Housing Council of Oregon, that trains people about the ins and outs of fair housing. It isn't all common sense things. You might think, well, I'm not prejudiced, I'm safe. There are some things that you really do need to know that aren't obvious at first. So just fair warning, the testers are out there. Make sure you are saying the same thing for all phone calls, all showings. Even the appearance of discrimination can maybe get you into some hot water. So I recommend the Fair Housing Council and the classes that go on, as well as it used to be called Metro Family Housing Association. That association changed its name. It's called multifamily NW now. They also offer unfair housing. Check it out, very beneficial. Okay, so I'm going to, oh, here we go,
Anybody
great,
else?
thank you.
Everybody else got one? Okay.
Thank you. Last thing before I pass it over to Levi is, as you may be aware of, there are changes that happen every 2 years with the Oregon landlord tenant law. There's a group that meets year-round now. It's called the Omnibus. And it's the people that are the advocates for the property managers and owners. And then on the other side of the table, you've got the tenants and their legal aid lawyers usually. And the battles back and forth all the time. And then they agree on the changes for the Oregon landlord tenant law. They bring that to the state legislation and they say, okay, this is what we agree on it. And they pretty much rubber stamp it in its law. That's going on right now as we speak. And there's going to be some more significant changes. And so that's going to be talked about at our next monthly dinner meeting, which I think is next week. Is that right? Next week? Okay. Cindy Robert, she's great. She's our lobbyist for that, to advocate for us. So she'll have some great information. If you only go to one of our dinner meetings a year, I would go to this one. It's that important. All the changes that take effect go into effect on January 1st, 2014. So it's going to be great information for you to know. Any questions on that? It's always a little bit scary when they change the Oregon landlord tenant law.
What day is that next week?
Wednesday? Is that right? We'll have the update for you. It sounds right. Where is it at? Is it at that golf course in Beaverton? Stockpot? Okay. Yeah, that's a good venue too, so check that out if you can. Good for you. The biggest change, by the way, I think is going to be having to do with Section 8. They're going to make us accept Section 8
It
applicants.
passed them.
It's looking like it. There's all kinds of restrictions and parameters, but yep, that's going to come our way. So a little bit scary. I rent to Section 8 all the time. I don't have a problem with it. I've had great luck in 8 years of doing this. I just don't like being told, you know, get a little pushback when I say you have to. Independent Street. Okay, let's talk about inspections. We're going to have some slides for you. Levi's been doing this for a long time now. In Q&A as we go along, I might interject as well. And, Levi, the floor is yours.
Thanks. We just have two more pages.
Two more? Okay. Here, let's put these together. I think this was one. Are you the two new people that just joined? Can I just give them to you, Christy?
Yep.
Okay.
How's everybody doing? I'm Levi Lolich. I'm the maintenance manager for Rappold Property Management, and I'm here to talk to you about doing property inspections. And one of the things I want you to keep in mind is inspections are, there's a number of reasons you're doing inspections. One is to make sure that you're protecting your investment, checking on how tenants are taking care of your property. But I want you to have the mindset, not so much that you're spying on your tenant, but that you're taking care of your tenant. Instead of just, you're there to find things wrong. That's not a great mindset to have all the time, because they can sense that and things can go wrong. So keep that in mind. We try to, well, we always go to our properties at least once a year. So I recommend doing that, if not more. If it's feasible, if it's close to where you live, then the more the better. You know, just drive-bys are fine to check on the exterior condition of your property. If you can get their interior more than once a year, that's great, because then, you know, things can change a lot in say 6 months. So keep that in mind. The first thing you're going to want to do when you do a property inspection is to give your tenants notice. It's required by law that you give them 24-hour notice, but I recommend that you give them more than that, unless you think something, you know, suspicious is going on, and you may want to give them just the 24-hour notice. Now, when you give 24-hour notice, there's a couple different ways you can do it. The most common way is just to mail that notice. You have to allow 3 days for mailing, just keep that in mind. But if you want to inspect and give them 24-hour notice to inspect the next day, you post it on their door, and then you also have to follow that up with mailing. It's called post and mail. Is that clear? You guys understand that? Okay. I send out, at our company, I send out inspection notices on Friday to inspect the coming Wednesday. And that way, there's, people have plenty of time to prepare for it. A lot of times I'll get calls on Monday and Tuesday, and the attendants will say, well, I don't want you to come inspect, and then that can lead to, having to renegotiate when inspections are gonna take place. And it's good to try to be fair with them and say, okay, well, why doesn't that work for you? Well, I'm at work, blah, blah, blah. Just, you have to kind of try to figure that out with them. Yeah.
So you leave this note in the door, you mail, and you still can call and tell them I'm coming tomorrow, or? No.
Generally what we do, we mail a notice that says we're gonna inspect on a certain day at a certain time. We give them 3 or 4 days. But what I'm saying is if you want to inspect sooner than that, like if you only want to give them 24-hour notice inspection, you post that on their door, but then you have to follow up by mailing a notice that says the same notice that you posted on their door, you also mail that, and it has to be mailed the same day that you post that notice. That's important to remember.
I'm fortunate in that I'm across the street, great tenants, great house. Is there any reason I should give a 24-hour notice on it? They just say, come on over, Bob, do this, or so is there a reason I might wanna do that as a procedure, just to do it? when I
Yeah,
don't need to
just
do it?
as a lead, just as to have a paper trail, I think.
Paper trail,
To, for if something goes wrong in the future, then you have,
show that I came in on that day, or I
Exactly.
requested that day, and then follow up exactly on that day.
documented, yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, you can also document that you had a phone call with them, but I think it's better to have that,
Yeah.
the notice that you mailed it.
So knowing that the mail will arrive after you do the inspection,
Yes,
it's okay.
the mail is the proof that you posted that on their door.
Okay.
Yes,
Do you post in conjunction with delivery? In other words, you knock on the door and somebody comes to the door and said, here's your notice, I'm gonna be around for an inspection. Just post it and run off, that's
well, you post it on their door.
I mean, what do you do? What do you do?
We post it on their door and then we mail it. That just leaves, there's no room for error.
And
that
you don't
way.
knock on the door and see if anybody's home? To wonder who was that scratching at the door?
No, because that's different than you're hand delivering it to the person. So,
What's wrong with that?
wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, you can do that, sure, you can hand it to them.
But we post it on the door and then we mail it. That's how we do it, so.
First class, not certified.
Not certified. At first class.
So if you hand deliver it,
It still can be a 24-hour notice, instead of
so
taking
you
it to the door.
would
you
have
just-
to have a signature from them that they,
No,
No.
you just hand it, you say, here, I'm coming in 24 hours, I'll be here tomorrow at this time.
And you still mail it, even if you hand it to them,
Still mail it.
To be safe, I guess.
yeah.
So what if they're not there in 24 hours? Do you let yourself in, or do you wait?
Yeah, if you've given them notice to inspect, then you have the right to inspect. If they haven't contacted you, and yeah, if they're not there, you're the landlord, you have the right to go in there, so. Yes.
You don't need verbal confirmation then from the tenant that they've gotten the notice from.
Yeah, you don't need verbal.
They couldn't, what if it fell off and they well, I didn't see it or I didn't
That's
get
why
it.
you mail it.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Question?
you get a proof of mailing?
I hear about posting and also mail, but these days everybody has email, and I communicate with all my tenants through emails. What's the role of email? What
Email's great, yeah, that's a good point. Well, if your lease agreement with that tenant has an area that says email is sufficient notice, then that pertains. If it doesn't, then you have to do it this way. But yeah, that works for a lot of the tenants we have now that have current, recent rental agreements. We have that in there that we can email you versus having to call or whatever, so, yeah, that works. That's
All these forms
notification.
too, by the way, with the Rental Housing Association now has that box too, that allows for email.
When did those come out?
Maybe 2-3 years ago,
Oh, so it's been a long time.
maybe even 4 or 5, gosh, time's moving quicker.
I don't know. I just never saw it.
What happened to the, mouse?
It's just the arrow thing.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Voila.
So,
It's like our apartment.
after we've given notice to the tenants that we're gonna inspect, make sure you bring a list, getting ahead of myself here. There's a couple things you're gonna wanna bring something to write with, a pen and paper, obviously. It's good to have a flashlight on you. And you also may want to bring, it's handy to have something of length, like a yardstick, or if you don't wanna, and I say that because that's gonna be testing smoke alarms if you're shorter like I am. It's hard to reach smoke alarms, so bring something that you can test smoke alarms with.
How do you taste smoke alarm with this speaker? They have buttons on
They
it.
have buttons, and you just reach up there and push the button. But it's also another thing you could bring is a step stool and bring it in with you.
Question, do you tell them in advance what you're gonna be inspecting for?
No, we get, on our notice, it says we're doing our annual inspection.
Right.
And a lot of times we'll get a call, most of the time it's fine, they kind of expect that, but then sometimes we'll get a call and they'll say, why are you inspecting? And you just, you let them know it's just we're checking on the property, it's nothing, we're
Not judging you.
Yeah, we're not
just-
judging
yeah.
you, it's not based on, although it is a little based on housekeeping, we'll get into that, but, you just kinda let them know that it's a general,
You don't give them a detailed list of,
no,
I'm looking for mold holes, this, that.
no, but you can certainly talk to them about that, yeah. Flashlight, pen and paper, something to reach the smoke alarms with, and, you may wanna bring a pair of booties to put on your feet, but I just, if someone wants you to take your shoes off, then just, be polite and do that. And then, the first thing I do when I get there, and this may seem like common sense, but check your keys to make sure they actually work in the doors.
Because
The reason I say that is because I've done it, and I'm sure other people have done it too, but get there, you don't do that, and then you realize later on down the road that your keys don't even work for that property, and you're like, well, why did that happen? So I kinda had to learn the hard way on that one.
And that again is good for fire. I mean,
Yeah.
those are safety issues, so if they did change it, you don't have to give them up, or you can just kinda say, well, I realize that you changed the locks here, so I need to have the key
Exactly.
copies. And if they're saying, well, why, well, this is a safety issue for you, what if there's a fire and the firemen are asking me, and I go, these are the keys I had.
They're
and
not
they'll
gonna
just-
ask you for the keys.
Well, no, but just, yeah, but I'm just saying, a lot of times people will back off.
Yeah, and if you don't have the key, then just simply, ask them if you can get a copy from them, and if they don't have one, then, if a place is nearby, run to get a copy made, or tell them to get a copy made and have them mail it to you, or have them bring it to, make arrangements to get a key. You need a key, obviously, so that's the first thing to check. We're gonna start doing the inspection on the interior, and the reason I say that is just because, that way if it's muddy, which it is often a lot in Portland and surrounding areas, Oregon in
One
general.
more question, so you go to this inspection, you knock to the door, how you check the key? You just say, oh, may I try my key, or you just open the door and you just walk?
Well, if they're there,
Yeah,
they're gonna let you in, and you just explain to them, the first thing I'm gonna do in this inspection is check my
Oh,
keys.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
But I like to do interior inspections first, that way you're just not tracking dirt around and whatnot. So, a rule that I was taught when I started doing them is it's easy to get to a property and get distracted, especially when there's people there. I find sometimes inspections are easier when there aren't people there. It's easier to stay focused. But if there are people there, just remember a rule, choose a direction and stay that direction. That way you won't miss anything. So either right hand or left hand, and just follow a wall you know, and you can let the tenant know that's what you're doing. Hey, I'm gonna start right and I'm gonna go right the whole time. Bedroom, bathroom. You guys understand? Okay. Otherwise, you get someone that's leading you around. Maybe they're leading you around for a reason. Maybe they don't want you to see something. They're standing over, you know, a hole in the carpet or, you know, that kind of thing. You're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking all around. You're checking for, you know, ceilings. You're looking for signs of water damage. You're looking at walls to make sure there aren't holes in the walls that they may have created themselves. Checking out the floors for trip hazards, torn carpet, stains, things like that. And general housekeeping. Obviously, this is not good. And I've seen quite a few like this. Yeah.
I guess my biggest thing is I'm timid, you know, so when I go into my renter's house, I don't wanna, hey, you know, point
Yeah.
the finger, because they're great tenants, certainly wanna get on the bad side. Any hints on how you handle it when you go in and
Yeah.
are you pointing this out and sticking your finger, what's this?
Yeah.
What's going on?
No, it's
Or are you just taking notes and you
Both.
deal with it at a later time?
both. You kind of have to get over you can't be too nice. I mean, there's a balance. You don't want to be abrasive, but at the same time, this is your property and you want to confront them and in a good way. So just, it's hard to get over that. I know, you know, yeah, in other words, like if you saw this, you would definitely want to tell them, hey, I've noticed your housekeeping is substandard. This won't fly. This needs to be better. And that may be hard at first, but when you've done it 5, 10, 15, 20 times, believe me, it comes much easier. But yeah, don't be afraid. It's your property. Stand up for yourself and say, hey, this isn't good.
What about quarters? Or someone leaning towards quarter, they may be
Same
kind
thing.
of tidy, but they got piles of stuff.
Yeah, and that's not good.
What do you
There's
do
all
with that?
there's all kinds of reasons that's not good. It creates moisture problems because the things are piled up against the walls. Cardboard attracts cockroaches. Yeah, that's something. Same thing. That's poor housekeeping, and you want to let them know that that's not good, and that needs to be dealt with. Or you're going to re-inspect, and if it's not cleaned up, then you might have to move out, depending on the situations.
How long, if you're giving, if there's things that they need to correct, how long do you usually give them before you come back to the inspection?
It depends, but 30 days generally. Would you agree with
Except
that?
maybe if it's a bad
30 days
situation
for
where you do a
repair.
1430.
Yeah.
So that-
If it's bad enough, we give them what's called a 1430. Some people refer to it as a 3014, but I think that sounds backwards. You send them a notice that says they have 14 days to take care of this problem, or they're gonna have to move out in 30 days.
Like 60 days notice.
Depending on.
It depends on the lease. You give them, if they've lived there for
40
less than a
years.
year,
Or more,
it's a
yeah.
1430. If they've lived there for more than a year, you have to give them, a year or more, you have to give them 60-day notice.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Did you say 14 days to fix the problem?
yes.
And then if not, then they have to move, with it 16 days later?
No,
After the
30
14
days
days?
later.
30
Or
days.
60 days.
And
So
the
is
Rental
it
Housing
30
Association has the
Is
forms.
Is that 30 days after the 14
No.
days?
No,
Or is it
no.
30 days from the beginning?
30 days from the beginning.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I meant.
So if they clean it up on day 18 or 20, you still move it on.
Could potentially.
We can stop.
And the major risk there is insects, I assume, and other disease.
Yeah, and just,
You need to document this, right, that notice.
yeah, take
Can
photos.
you take pictures
Yeah,
when you're
yeah,
inspecting?
certainly.
When you take this inspection, can you take photos?
Yeah, definitely.
Bed bugs.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a host for all kinds of, and if they're doing that, I mean, who knows what else, you know? It's just, there's a combo kind of the hoarding and the poor housekeeping. Hoarding is bad.
Now, is this something
the picture you took?
No, these are just,
Okay.
I found these. Yeah, I haven't come across anything that bad, although I have come across a back patio that was just probably this high in recycling and garbage. And then those tenants were complaining about rodents coming around. Well, I wonder why. When you're walking around the house, you're checking the housekeeping like we were talking about just now. You're also looking for evidence of maybe unauthorized pets, so keep that in mind. And unauthorized occupants as well. So if you think you have, say 2 people on a lease agreement, but you see 4 beds, then that should kind of give you an idea that something's not right there, and you need to talk to them about that. If you see dog food, dog bowls, or evidence of pets, then that's a good indicator that they probably have a pet, and if it's not authorized, then, yeah,
Can
question?
you open like closet during inspection and look for hidden bed, for example?
You can open closets, you can't look in people's drawers,
Uh-huh.
so just keep that in mind. Can't be too intrusive, but you can certainly look in all rooms and closets. But you can't be going through like their sock drawer or, desk drawer, things like that.
None of their personal dressers and stuff, but your closets
Exactly.
and things that came with the house.
Yep.
How about bathroom vanities and things like that?
Yes,
Those
definitely. You're gonna need to look under there to check for,
Moisture.
yeah,
And what about kitchen drawers?
like, pantries.
Huh?
Kitchen.
Kitchen drawers,
Yeah, you
because
can look
we
in there.
found cockroaches in kitchen drawers
Yeah.
before.
You can look in there.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying you're looking up and down. You're checking for water damages so that you can take care of that before it gets any worse, because over the long run, it's gonna cost you, it could cost you a lot of money if you don't head that off at the pass. Question, sir?
How do you handle the hoarders? I know it's bad, but how do you approach them and say that it needs to be cleaned up?
Just like we talked about, as far as just talking to them and then giving them a 1430. I would send them a notice that says if you don't have this taken care of in 14 days, then you're gonna have to move out. Can you guys see that very well?
You see the previous damage was painted over.
I have one more question. So when you go through this whole house and you see issue, you address right away to tenants, you tell them, I think this, or you just don't? And you send letter later on?
As far as like problems that they've caused, or just
Yeah, if you see something what you think is not right.
if they're there and yeah, you can point it out to them, and if it's bad enough, then you're gonna have to follow up with them
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Send them a notice, but yeah, just talk to them. So we're looking at ceilings, and we want to take care of those small water damage areas that you see, because we don't want them to turn into things like that. That'll, costly repairs. Are you guys following me down this list, by the way? Kind of the inspection checklist. Okay. Well, we're kind of going down towards the middle of that. You see where it says interior? We're going down there, and we're looking at the housekeeping. Right now, we're on walls and ceilings, making sure they're in good repair, no holes, no loose plaster. Just kind of some, common sense things that they're not damaging your walls. Pet damage and trip hazards. Bad kitty. When you see stuff like this, it's not always a pet, but in this case, it's funny because the cat's right there looking at the damage that he's done. And you'll run into tenants that say, oh, the carpet is fraying and it's because it's cheap carpet or something, but you can kind of figure out what's going on a lot of times. So just keep an eye out for things like that.
Especially if there's
Well, what are you
scratch
gonna
marks
do? This is
on the
a
wall.
pet that they have to have. It's a companion pet, and it's ripping up your carpet. What are you gonna do about it?
Well, it's going to come out of their deposit at the end.
So just let them keep ripping?
No,
I mean, that's a real toughie.
yeah, I've seen people, put tape there and try to, hopefully they're good pet owners and they'll try to, if you warn them, hopefully they'll try to keep the pet from doing that by maybe putting tape there or, spraying them with spray bottles or something. I mean, you can't control everything they do, but talk to them about it, say, hey, this is gonna be costly for you when you move out.
A cat will do that if you leave them in their room with the door closed.
Yeah.
If you wanted to fix it right away, most carpet shampooing companies also have the ability to stretch carpets and do new tack strips and everything. So for example, in this thing, you could confront them and say, hey, that carpet was 6 months old before you moved in, and we're gonna fix this right now. We're not gonna wait for you to move out, because maybe she's gonna stay there for 5 years. So for example, the carpet company we use, I just love them, they can pull carpet from a closet or some unseen area, and they'll do a patch, they'll stretch it, they'll do a new tack strip, and you can charge all of that expense to the tenant right then and there.
Oh.
And is that something we would probably do even though the cat's still there and they do it again?
You bet. If he does it again, charge again.
And then you charge at that moment,
Right.
send the bill for the charges
bet.
rather than waiting to.
What if
They'd
the,
probably be more careful
Exactly.
if you
Yeah.
did
Train
that
them.
right
You gotta
away.
train your tenants.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even matter if it was a companion animal. Even if it was a companion animal, you can charge them to that.
what if the cat is peeing on the carpet? Or the dog?
Yeah.
Same thing, you
Same
can have
thing,
them,
yeah.
yeah, shampoo the carpet and
Have them shampoo
Have
it,
them pay
clean
it.
it, I mean, it's gonna cost them money until they take care of it.
Can't get that out in shampoo.
Sure, question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask him, but he was talking about the shampoo, the company that you use. And so would you, but you don't take it out of the security deposit when that happens, you have them pay for it up front.
You bet.
So you still
Yeah.
have all
collect that money immediately. Yeah.
Yeah, so you.
Does that apply to other damages that are done?
Sure, yeah, if they do any damage to your property while they're on your
Have it
lease,
done
they're-
immediately, fixed
bet.
immediately, and then
Yeah.
charge them,
you
huh?
bet. Because it protects you financially and it also trains them.
Now,
know,
do you
sets the
have, do you
expectations.
have them pay directly, or do you pay and then get reimbursed? from
I'd
the
have them
company?
pay my company and I would pay the vendor.
Okay, so you may or may not get that many,
So what if they say that's.
if you already have the work
Fine.
be done by the people, the company.
Well, this never happened. What would I do? I guess I could really draw a hard line and say, this, you owe this and it's gonna be on your ledger. Next time you pay the rent, you could have the rent go towards that and then send the balance back and then you can evict them off of that.
Well, and then they're late, and
Yeah,
they haven't
yeah.
paid full
It
and
can
all
get,
that.
it can get messy.
Can you tell us the name of your shampoo company?
Sure, yeah, they're great. Venturi, Venturi, Venturi.
So what if they say, but I give you a security deposit, just take it out of that?
No.
I'll say, no, I'm sorry, that's not applicable in this situation. Your pet just caused this damage and you owe me now.
Yeah.
Draw a hard
Do you
line.
have something in the
Same
lease
for
that
blinds,
states that?
anything like that, you can charge right then from that.
Can you evict them then if they don't pay that bill?
You could, if you want to draw that hard of a line, there's ways to do that, you bet.
Give them a 30-day with pause because they didn't pay?
No, it'd be a little bit more complicated than that, but I'll talk to you after class.
I have a question. What if they will tell you, I will fix this carpet? You don't fix, I will fix this carpet. You
I
know?
wouldn't go for that,
No.
I mean, because, that's like checks in the mail, same type
Okay.
of.
Thank you.
Floor hazards, we kind of talked about that, bad kitty. Another thing you're looking at when you're looking around the room, when you're looking down at floors, check all the electrical outlets just to make sure that there's no exposed wiring and that there's plate covers on them. Make note of that, so we don't have any electrical accidents.
Do you test the electrical outlets also?
I don't, because a lot of times most of the time you're gonna hear from a tenant that if their plug's not working, so, you could get real detailed like that, but I don't. You, keep that in mind, a lot of tenants are gonna let you know about issues, and that's something you should ask them. That's usually what I ask the first thing when I'm there is, hey, what's not working, is there anything I should know about? But, most of the time they're gonna tell you about things like, my oven's not working, my shower's leaking, that kind of stuff. You're just kinda re-emphasizing it by doing the inspection. So let's move on here. Broken blinds, that's something that happens a lot in property management. And like Troy was saying, you can charge tenants for this immediately. And make sure that, you know, this is a little off the subject, but when you move someone in, make sure that you're doing a move-in checklist and having them sign off on it, that it's in this condition and that they accept it in that condition. The blinds are all, for example, you know, the blinds are all new, the carpet's all new, whatever the case may be. This is how it is when you moved in. Take pictures, and then when they move out and they try to say, well, these blinds were broken and these, you know, this carpet was ripped, you say, no, it wasn't. I have pictures and I have you checking off that everything was in great shape. We'll see. Yeah.
We do a walkthrough previously, before the tenant moves in, and then we give them a check-in, check-out list that they fill out and send back to us. Should we be doing the full walkthrough with them?
You really should.
Okay.
You really should do the walkthrough. I've seen it done both ways, because some people won't. I've actually seen people, oh yeah, I'll get you that checklist, and then you don't see it for 3-4 months, and maybe they've already done some damage there, and they're like, oh yeah, this has a tear in the carpet. Well, I wasn't there 3 months ago when you moved in, you know. So it's best to do the walkthrough at the time. Yes, sir.
If you purchase a property and inherit a renter, and should you do a inspection as soon as you buy the property with the person that you inherited with that property? And if you have not, are you kinda hosed if they say, well, that happened when the other guy owned this property?
Boy, we should talk after class about that kind of thing.
It's not a bad idea though, is
Yeah.
the short answer. A lot of times though, when you buy, say a 5-plex, that all the paperwork you'll get has the move-in paperwork from when the old owner owned it.
Yeah.
And that's one thing you do wanna check. If you don't have the move-in paperwork from the old owner, then yes, definitely do a move-in inspection right when you're the new owner.
Should you inspect it before you buy it?
Oh, yeah.
We'll skip over sleeping rooms at this point and just go to kitchens and bathrooms. We're in the bathroom here. This is something you may or may not run into. I've run into it. It seems like it happens more in the multifamily apartment style buildings, but it can happen anywhere. Water damage to the wall at the bathtub, and a lot of times this is just from people being careless and not using their shower curtains properly, which I know sounds crazy, but if you see something like that, I mean, talk to them about, hey, are you making sure your shower curtains pull all the way, because look at the damage, you know, that you're causing. And another thing is if that is happening, those splash guards, those plastic splash guards, those will help a lot, kind of make up for the lack of the shower curtains, so to speak.
Now, if this does happen, are they responsible for the damage, or are we responsible for the damage?
That's a tough one. It depends on, I mean, if you can really prove that they're doing that, then you can make them responsible for it.
What if you fixed it and then it happens again? I mean, could you?
Well, if you
could
fix
blame
it,
them
you
for that?
should, if you fix it and you put splash guards in, it shouldn't happen again. If there's something else going on, like maybe the bathtub is faulty, then, I mean, you're not gonna be able to charge the tenants for something that, or plumbing, like the plumbing's leaking, then, it's kind of on you. So we're checking in the bathroom, we're checking, for mildew and, you know, housekeeping again. You should make sure that you're, one of the big important things to check is the caulking around the bathtubs. It's a minor maintenance, but it'll save you a lot of money in the long run. Make sure that, you know, that's something you should really do like every year, 2 years.
Recall.
Yeah, or at least check it and make sure that it's in good.
If they're in that kind of situations, make a 24-hour notice and coming in, do a recall period.
Yeah, it's just important, it protects, because you don't want water getting in back there and ruining your subfloor and everything, so. Same with the, like this shower particularly has the tile, and so you get, make sure the grout's in good condition. And this goes also to housekeeping. A lot of times people will have mold around it because they're just not doing a good job cleaning, and you need to tell them that. They'll say, well, I have mold around my bathtub, and if it's bad like this, I mean, that's just old caulking, and that should be replaced, but a lot of times it's because they're not cleaning very well, so. Smoke alarms. We're skipping around a little bit here, but, let's see. This is just something I put up so you guys could look at it. Make sure smoke alarms are, operable. Like I said, you can bring something to reach them with if you're not tall enough or if they're up too high. There should be one in every sleeping room and then one adjacent to the sleeping rooms, like in the hallway. And don't just take their word for it that they're working, actually check them. And if it's just a battery, it's a good thing to maybe bring batteries with you. You're certainly welcome to replace them yourself, but it's really the tenant's responsibility to do that. But it might be, sometimes it's easier just to do it yourself because you don't want to rely on them, so, oh yeah, we'll change that, and then they don't. So,
Excuse me,
Yeah.
CO detectors, what's the rule for CO detector location?
CO detectors, that's another thing I was gonna touch on. Let's start from the beginning with CO detectors. If a property has any gas appliances or a gas source of carbon monoxide, you're required to have a carbon monoxide, or a CO detector. Does everyone know that? Okay.
That includes a fireplace
And a
also,
garage.
doesn't it?
Includes a fireplace and it includes an attached garage. If it's a detached garage, you don't have to have one unless, of course, there's gas appliances. And I believe it's 15 feet from sleeping areas is where you have to have one. And smoke CO detectors go down low, by the way. They don't go up high like smoke alarms. Do not buy the plug-in kind. Buy the kind that have to actually be fastened to the walls, because plug-in kinds, if they have anything go wrong, like, if they start beeping, then the tenants will just unplug them and then they won't be any good. So and don't buy, this is just a suggestion, but I wouldn't buy the combination type where they're both CO and smoke alarm, because the whole point of having a CO detector is because carbon monoxide and carbon monoxide stays down at kind of ground level, on a lower level, whereas smoke rises. So it doesn't make sense to have a combo. You want to have a smoke alarm up high and a CO detector kind of down low.
How far above the ground, the floor?
Well, I would just follow the manufacturer's instructions, but I mean, it's.
Where do you install them so they don't get tampered with?
Well, we actually put them about waist level.
Maybe
Hardwire? Hardwire?
Hardwire?
Yeah.
No, they're battery. They're battery.
Oh.
Question. So you said 15 feet, is that minimum or
That's
15 feet?
No, minimum.
Within 15 feet?
Within 15 feet of sleeping areas, carbon.
And if I have an attached garage and a gas fireplace downstairs, what, I don't think I would need monoxide detectors.
If you have more than one level, there has to be one on each level. Yeah.
CO alarm.
So CO alarms on each level and within 15 feet of sleeping areas.
So that is a little bit different than the smoke alarms. For example, smoke alarms, you have to have one per bedroom. Let's say you're in a house and it's a hallway, and at the end of the hallway you have a bedroom, bedroom, bedroom. You can just put one there in the end of the hallway, because it's within 15 feet of all three bedrooms and you're safe, whereas smoke alarms, you would need three.
Exactly.
Excuse me, if there is no, let's say, bedroom in the main floor, but there is a fireplace, then that main floor that has no bedroom still need a CO detector?
Yes.
And the ones that plug in are what I have in my units, and they're legal, as far as I know, to use those, and they will buzz if they come out of the wall. May not be the best,
Yeah.
situation, but it will buzz, so it's up to, and I have them sign the documents that they're responsible for the carbon monoxide. See, so.
Yeah, and a lot of,
They're legal to use.
they're
as
legal,
you
I just
know.
don't recommend. People unplug them, and don't forget, you can, we have in our rental agreements that there's a smoke alarm tampering fee, and you can charge someone up to $250 for tampering with the smoke alarms.
What about the carbon?
I mean, we don't ever do that unless it's,
Fine, yeah.
unless someo's a repeat offender type thing.
Yeah.
I've been getting the smart smoke alarms that have a built-in permanent 10-year battery.
Yeah, and they're,
That way I don't have to worry of them
Yeah.
taking, then I replace them about every 5 years.
And there's actually a fireman that is kind of heading up legislation, and they're going towards that. They're trying to get rid of batteries. They're trying to go towards 10-year smoke alarms that just, you throw them away after 10 years. So you don't have to worry about batteries. You just put them up, forget about them. 10 years, you throw them away.
I've been told also after about that time to time, they got enough dust in there, they don't work too well.
Yeah, I mean, I've come across old smoke alarms that don't even work, and so they don't last a whole long, you know, a long time. And some of them have been faulty too. Make sure that they work properly.
The 10-year batteries don't last 10 years.
No,
They don't?
those ones that say they last 10 years, they don't last 10 years.
So how long are you thinking they last? Because it does actually say 10 years.
It does say 10, but I don't know, 2, 3.
Really?
Yeah.
So the manufacturer's really lying to us, is that what?
So I think so. Sometimes they're actually, I saw one the other. They have ones now that say 5 years guaranteed. So.
So how often do you replace the ones that say 10 years?
If it doesn't work.
You do it on a
We do it at turnover. We do it. I mean, if
every turnover?
yeah.
Do you replace them every time somebody moves out?
Well, depends on how long they've lived there, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
So.
There's also, you can get smoke in a can and test your smoke alarm, that's what I do. I guess you have to reset that too.
And by the way, this photo, I wanna go back here, this is a picture of a hardwired smoke alarm, which a lot of structures have. I would recommend staying away from those, just because things go wrong with them, and then you have to deal with someone rewiring them. It's better just to have the battery powered kind. These have battery backup, but I've run into a lot of issues with hardwired smoke alarms.
So work in the alarm system.
Yeah.
I like the idea that, two-story building, if the smoke alarm goes off downstairs, it goes off upstairs.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to them. There's a picture of some girls having fun. Oops. Took the smoke alarm down. That's a no-no. This is a photo of someone storing paint and combustibles right near a gas water heater, which is you know, kind of dangerous. So just keep an eye out for that. There should be some clearance there, because you've got a pilot light, and you know, something bad could happen there.
How much clearance do you recommend?
4 feet. Let me see, temporary heating devices. Space heaters are fine, but they should only be temporary. People shouldn't be using them for their main source of heat. It's just something to keep in mind.
I do have a question with that. There is an add-on to the property, about a 400 square feet of area, and if there is no built-in heat in there. So, are these okay for that in a rental?
Sure.
Okay.
Or you could maybe consider putting in cadet heaters, the little wall-mounted cadet heaters. Yeah,
Okay.
that would be better. But this is fine. I mean, and these are built real safe these days. If they flip over, they turn off. But just you don't want someone using that instead of using their heat. That's
Do you know if that's built into the rental agreement, that they shouldn't be using that? I don't recall.
Which rental? I mean,
The RHA rental agreement, is it standard language?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure.
I don't think it is.
So it would have to be an addendum then, if we didn't want that?
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, you could do that. But then you have to make sure that your furnace is working, providing them heat. So,
I would add water proximity to those is dangerous.
oh yeah, yeah.
I had a guy at the office, his little kid got out of the shower and touched the baseboard heater and zapped.
Yeah. I mean, if you see someone keeping those near a bathtub or on top of a kitchen or a bath sink or something, that's not a good idea. Same thing, talking about electrical hazards. Not only is this a trip hazard, but it's when people daisy chain
Surge protectors.
surge protectors together. That's not a good thing either, because they can overload and start a fire. So that's just something to think about. Let's see.
I have a question, because people are using computers and there's lots of cords, you know. How do you deal with this? What you can do?
Well, most
And
people
you-
know, because they wanna protect their computers and whatnot, so they have a surge protector, and that's fine. I'm just saying you don't wanna have someone taking one surge protector, attaching it to another, and attaching it to another. That's dangerous. So don't worry too much unless you see an outlet and someone has one of those extenders and there's like 15 things plugged into that. That raises some eyebrows, because that could start a fire also. Oh, and one thing I wanna go back on is back to bathrooms and kitchens. When we're looking, in the bathroom, when we're looking at the vanity, don't forget to open that up and look under it and make sure that it's not leaking underneath, because it can cause damages to your cabinet. And sometimes you'll see signs of water damage that is minor, but maybe it's not actively leaking, but you should still ask them if they notice any leaks. Maybe have them put something under there to collect water, and then if they notice anything under there, then you can have it repaired so that it doesn't cause you damage. Same with kitchens and bathrooms. Do that for both. So let's assume we finished with the interior inspection. This photo is of the exterior, obviously. One of the things we want to do is make sure that all the vent screens are intact. This isn't an ideal photo of what I was trying to explain, but does everyone know what a vent screen is on your house? It's around the foundation, there's vents to allow air circulation to get under there. If the vents are, if the screens aren't intact, then rodents can get in there and things like that. So just check for that. You're gonna, walk around the house, do a 360, and just kind of look for things that don't seem right, like gutters sagging. This is a example of, if you can see up here, the fascia is splitting apart, so that's something that should be repaired. Exterior lights, make sure you're checking to make sure that your lights are working, like around the garage and the front, so that there's good visibility. Obviously, this is bad siding. It's, there's some damage to it. You want to protect your wood, so make sure that gets repaired. Some of that should be replaced, and some of it just needs paint. Painting is important. Make sure you're protecting the structure. Same thing. That needed a paint job a long time ago. This is extreme, but foundation is having a problem here. There's some kind of shifting going on. And actually, when you're doing your interior inspection and you check doors, for example, if you have doors that aren't closing right, that can actually be a sign that there's something going on with the foundation. So just keep that in mind. If you have like more than one door, or even one door that's real bad and you can't figure out why it's off, and it's not necessarily the frame or the hinges, then it could lead you to believe that maybe there's something going on with the foundation, a bigger issue. But if you see cracks like that, then yeah, that's not good at all. Same thing. A lot of time they start right around the windows like that. Roof systems, one of the most important things you can maintain on your property, a roof system. Gutters are included in a roof system, and I see that so many times where gutters are in bad shape, they're clogged, they're not flashed properly, they're not connected properly, and this can cause a lot of damage to your investment. So make sure your gutter system's working, your roof's in good shape, all the shingles are in good shape, not missing. See how there's a space there between the gutter and the roof? That's not how that should be. That should be flush, there should be flashing. That's not gonna work properly right there. The water's gonna run down, get into the fascia and start eating away at your investment.
That is really, really common. When roofers are putting on the gutters, they don't screw it on, they just nail it. It's a long 4 or 5 inch nail. And that happens almost every year. So a lot of times, if you're doing this on an annual basis, just go right back with the hammer and make sure that gutter is butted right up against that fascia. You don't want that. Here's the nail right there.
Yeah, it's sticking out.
Pound that in.
And make sure that gutters are clean. That's one of the reasons you're doing your inspection. And some places are gonna need gutter cleaning like 2-3 times a year, depending on how many trees are around it. And that brings up another point when you're doing exterior inspections. Make sure you're looking for trees that are encroaching on your property, because they need to be cut back. It's something to think about. You don't want them rubbing up against the house and clogging up your gutters.
If you are a renter, is the landlord actually responsible for cleaning the gutters, or is the tenant?
It depends on your rental agreement, but usually it's the property manager.
Yeah. And a lot of times because you don't want your tenant crawling up there
Yeah.
on a ladder cleaning
Yeah.
out the
Right.
gutters.
Liability. Yard care you can have
Right.
tenants do, but I wouldn't have them on ladders.
Okay.
Same thing, so your gutters go into downspouts, your downspouts go down, and they should go into some kind of pipe that takes it into somewhere other than right into your foundation, as shown in this photo. That's not good, and you know, you should repair that, because that water's getting right down in and it can cause foundation problems. You know, you can run some flex tube if you want to do it that route. Those
It's a very cheap fix.
It's a cheap fix, and it's not pretty, but
If you
it
don't
works. You could also have a splash guard, that helps a little bit, those concrete splash guards. That's a good thing, inexpensive fix.
Let's
And
see
there's-
where your tenant can get a discount on the water bill. If you do have them disconnected, if you have them with the splash boards going out into the dirt, away from your foundation.
So water companies.
That's
Portland does it.
that's just a photo of a gutter's not working properly.
Is that on apartments or just,
You can see the gutter nail sticking out.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah.
is that water discount on just houses, or is it on apartments too? You get that?
I'm not familiar with what she was talking
You
about,
can-
the water discount.
You can get it on both in Portland.
Water Bureau lands for
Yeah.
that. Portland Water Bureau.
Also, while you're on the roof, you're gonna wanna check, see a lot of leaks on roofs, caused by the flashing around chimneys. They seem to cause a lot of leaks, so that's just something to keep in mind, and, make sure that it's flashed and tarred, and, you're not having water come into the inside. Porches and patios and decks, make sure that they're in good repair. Your wood, make sure that, you're sealing it when it needs it. If you have wood decks, probably, once a year, maybe, I know not everyone does sealer once a year, but at least maybe once every 2 years, so you're protecting the wood. And if you have concrete, make sure there aren't trip hazards like big cracks in it, things like that. Make sure that you have handrails where there are 4 more risers. That's important. It's code, and does everyone understand the rise and run on stairs? Because this is a great little picture to learn on. So you've got your run, which is the horizontal section of the stair, and then your rise, which is the vertical. You need a riser with, a handrail with 4 more risers. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So 5 steps. 5 steps pretty much need a finger.
4 or more.
4. But I was just saying that this particular set of stairs has
More
5.
than 4.
It's the top landing stuff, and
3 or less, you're saying.
Okay.
On steps, The steps look great in the drawing, as soon as it gets wet out, the porch isn't quite all painted, and there's some bare wood right there. What have you been doing with steps? Do you, put a non-skid on,
Yeah.
strip it, and then repaint it?
Yeah, that's a good question. He's asking about like safety, slipping and stuff.
I mean, it is my responsibility
Yeah.
as a landlord
Yeah,
to
that's a
take care
good,
of the steps.
that's a good thing to do to prevent liability, or at least minimize it, to put a, like the sandpaper type strips that you can buy at pretty much any, home repair store. Put that on your stairs. And, you can also, if you're gonna paint stairs, which I've seen it, you can add grit to the paint to make it sticky, to make it
Crushed walnut.
more traction. So that's something to consider. Yeah, we actually have an apartment complex that has kind of, it used to have slippery steps, and so we had all the steps covered with the sandpaper type, non-skid strips. It's not super cheap though, you'd be surprised. You'd think something like that is cheap, but it's not. They price it pretty high.
And the strips can peel off.
They can, yeah, they can.
Using the.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what the code is as far as how many inches apart the rails have to be on the handrail itself?
No.
Is there anything important about that at all?
There is.
Yeah.
4 inches?
A tennis ball can't go through, I think it's 4.
3.5.
I always heard it was the size of a baby's head.
Actually, doesn't this say?
It says
3.5.
Yeah, whatever
We
it
have
is.
18
I just thought that was funny because you would never want stairs like that without a handrail, and there's no, there's also no step, no run. So you don't want to leave that around. That could cause a lawsuit right there. Tape it off or something. We're still outside. We're looking at yards. This is poor housekeeping outside. So there's another thing you can talk to your tenants about. That's got to be cleaned up, or you can 1430 them. Because nobody wants a yard that looks like that.
Would if you hauled the stuff then, or had somebody take the stuff and haul it away? And
Charge
if you
them.
charge them
Yeah,
for
charge
it, is that another way you could do that
Sure.
situation?
Yeah, we
To
should
say,
have.
well, they're gonna be here, if you don't have it clean in 15 days, then I'll have my guy do it, and
Mhm.
whatever's there, he's gonna take.
Yeah.
Do you as a landlord have a right to take their stuff if it
Yeah.
looks like that?
Yeah, if they say no, that's my stuff, don't take it.
Yeah.
Take it, then you just gotta make it.
I wouldn't take their stuff. Yeah, that's
No.
that'll get you in trouble.
Take
That
pictures,
was my
document,
question.
document.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's
yeah.
good stuff.
You'd have to have permission to take it.
Okay.
They'd probably have to itemize what you can take. And, yeah.
Take that check.
Or pile it over in the corner.
Did you have a question in the corner? I keep. Okay.
Yeah, there could be a lawsuit.
Um,
taking their stuff.
So that's my yard. So I wanted you to see how our not really. It's more like that's my roof too. That's just a picture of a roof in good condition, and that's because it's a newer house. But I just wanted to put that in there. And then the opposite, actually this is a really nice roof. It's the slate. Yeah, it's a slate roof, but I'm just showing this photo. There's tiles missing. So if you see that kind of stuff, you're gonna want to repair that. That's an expensive. That's an expensive roof.
A good plug for real estate, they're members of the Rental Housing Association, they're called Real Estate Roofing. I've come to use them now for maybe 3 or 4 years, and they're really great. A lot of times if you have a rental property and your roof is in bad condition and you want to maybe think about getting bids, maybe replacing it, a lot of times roofing companies will come out and say, oh yeah, we'll replace it, because they want the work, and they'll give you the bid and they'll replace the roof, when really it still has some life left into it. Real estate roofing is great when it comes to this kind of stuff. They can patch, they can do new flashing, new what's that called, mastic around the roof, shingle. They can really bring another 5 years of life to your roof if it's not quite ready yet to be replaced.
Is that the name of the company?
Real estate roofing.
Yeah.
You got a gutter guy?
Beg pardon?
You have a gutter person?
Gutter, who do you use for gutters?
They do gutters.
Do they do gutters? Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
The other thing too, I wanna make sure everyone knows about, tenants are, and this is important, tenants are responsible for, don't forget to check furnace filters when you're doing an inspection.
Tenants are responsible for
Well, it depends on the owner, but we make the tenants responsible for that. I mean, it all depends on the relationship you have. If you trust that they're gonna do it and you communicate with them, then, you know, let them do it, but, if you don't think that they will, then you do it yourself. It's important because, and remind them that it's gonna cut down on their, energy costs if a furnace is running well, and at the same time it's protecting your furnace, which we all know is expensive to replace, so, check the furnace filter, remind them to do it, you know, every, 3 months or so, 3 to 4 months. If they check it and it's not that dirty 3 or 4 months, then okay, you can let them go a little longer, but it's like changing the oil in your car, it's real important to do. The other thing that I wanted to make sure you knew about were GFCIs. Make sure that they're in the bathrooms and the kitchen. That's something that it's code that you have to have those. The older properties you'll run into, there won't be those. Does everyone know what those are? Some people call them GFIs. The correct term is GFCI. You can call it either way. GFIs. It stands for ground fault circuit interrupter. And that's so, like, for example, let's say you drop the blender into the kitchen sink, that it breaks and it trips and you don't get electrocuted. That's kind of the whole point of that. So those need to be in the bathroom and in the kitchen.
Do those need to be changed out? We
Yeah,
have to
change them out. Yeah,
the old
exactly, change
stuff.
them out.
It's code that you have to change.
It's suggested, it's suggested. Like, I've recently bought a house and it didn't have those, but the inspector recommended that be done. And I think it might help with your insurance, so.
So did you do it?
I did on a few of them.
I've heard there's a new version that's sensitive to, I don't know what it is, it's some other imbalance. Not a regular GFCI, but there's like an additional,
Like a surge protector maybe, if there's a
maybe
spike
sometime. Or
I
something like
understand
the wires are
it's a child proofer
Haven't heard of it.
that slides across. And I think G.I. Joes or whoever, they sell both kinds, but I think code, you have to have the child protector in the GFCI. That's what somebody told me.
How about bathrooms?
I don't know what is GFCI, can you explain?
Yeah, highly recommended.
Can you explain to us what is GFCI, because I don't know what it is.
It's just your standard outlet. For example, you know how you just have your standard outlet you plug something into? There's just two sockets, you know? GFCI has a reset button on it. It's got usually it's a red and a black. And it's to protect, like I was saying, if you the reason they requirement, or they suggest that you put them in bathrooms and kitchens is because there's water involved. And if you were to drop an appliance like a hair dryer into the sink or something, it'll shut off power to that plug. So there's less chance of you dying or something.
It's basically like a breaker just right on the outlet. You know your breaker
Well,
box? It's like,
When we do turnovers,
yeah.
when we do turnovers at a property, there's an older, say it's an older apartment, and we notice that there are GFCIs, then we put them in.
Okay, I thought you meant.
That's
No,
a good
no, no.
explanation.
And the GFCI, I mean, is it just a screw in, like anybody can do it?
Yes.
Yeah, anyone can do it. I mean, you have to know, you know, turn the power off. Make sure
It's exciting. No, but it doesn't have to have it doesn't have to be grounded in some special grounding or anything.
No,
any different.
and they come with, a lot of times you can, you know, there's instructions, and just make sure you have a tester to make sure, you know, what's hot and what's not.
Right.
But you don't have to be a licensed electrician or anything. Homeowners can do it all the time.
Right.
And then he brought up something that I kind of skipped over, which I'm glad he brought up. Bathroom fans. Highly recommended, bathroom fans. A lot of properties don't have bathroom fans. They were built long ago when the code was, you know, a window is sufficient, crack a window. Bathroom fans will help keep the humidity down, which will in turn keep mold and mildew at a minimum, hopefully. And that's something that we don't want to come across, but we do, especially in Oregon, is the whole mold and mildew thing. So I just.
Laundry rooms
I
is
just-
another good place for it, yeah.
Yeah, and
We use Whisper Greens.
And with
They run all the
timers,
time.
And
timer
it's,
switch.
it's also recommended that you have a switch, a single switch that turns the light on and also the fan. That way, the fan's always running when someone's using the bathroom. Otherwise, they may not use it, they shower, all that steam gets on the walls and the ceiling, it causes mold, and then they're calling you saying, I have a mold problem.
Portland requires a timer on their fans now,
I had a building inspector tell me.
so you can't really do the light thing, you gotta have it at time.
Is that just within the city of Portland?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Tiger and the guy told me that new construction of bathrooms, not, because I was remodeling, but new constructions, you have to have it tied in, and then it runs for a little time after you leave the room.
Or a building inspector, post inspector suggests that we put a timer, and that suggests that tenants have to leave it running at least 10 minutes after they left that restroom, so that helps a lot.
And then the last, one other thing, I just wanna make sure you locate the breaker box and make sure that there's a door on it and that there are all the, breakers. So, no exposed wires, and there's a door on it. So, that's pretty much it. Troy, we'll be here until 10 to answer any questions.
Maybe just one thing in passing. I guess,
30 and
for that
60
camera.
day,
Every month we get the update, Rental Housing Association, it's such a wealth of information. They always have on every single one about at least 2 pages, 2.5 pages of preferred vendors.
I think you
Vendors
can do
have
it.
paid to be part of the Rental Housing Association,
You have to
and
get
they're
it.
great. I've been doing this for 8 years, property management, and I still turn to this to use.
And where do you get that?
It's the Rental Housing Association update.
Oh.
If you're a member, you get this free monthly. It's one of the best things about the association. Good vendors in here. Yes, ma'am.
You taking questions?
Sure.
I was curious about, the whole reason I came, because I've been a landlord 6 years, and we're pretty good on our maintenance. So the main reason I came was to ask you about Section 8, which we touched on a little bit, but we're really concerned, as a lot of landlords are, that have nice properties and haven't wanted to rent to Section 8. And so, from tying into the maintenance aspect, I wanted to know, because you guys have a lot of experience in this, legally, if we, not, I know it's a stereotype, but, if they're not putting out the same amount of money, you don't know. Sometimes they don't take as good care of things.
Fair enough.
And so,
Okay.
just say it that way.
Yeah.
And so, when we do what, can we expect the same standard from them and evict them if they don't take care of our places?
Absolutely, you can,
And then
yes.
also, I wanted to ask if, we can, I've already asked Alita about this before, when you screen people, I've never felt the need to go and see what their place looks like that they currently live in. But I've been told that you can do that, so you just have to do it for everybody that I have 5 units, so I could, feasibly do that. I don't have 400 like you guys do. So if I'm really concerned about this Section 8 housing, as far as my screening, I could go and see their place and.
You mean
make
on
it-
the inside of their place?
Yes.
I've never done that. Boy.
You mean where they currently live?
Yeah, where they currently live.
Yeah.
Like pre-screen.
You'd have to get their permission and everything, and I could see some serious pushback and say, no way.
Yeah.
But you can drive by incognito, and you just
See
park the
the
car, look
outside.
around, see the outside.
So, but.
Maybe pretend you're Jehovah's Witness, not gonna go
If they don't take care of your place, you can evict them.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
If you're-
Document it and take pictures. The judges in the courtroom love pictures. If you got pictures to support your argument, you can get them out.
Yeah, really not too happy about that.
I would say, we have several Section 8
Shows up with the key to accept them and
Us too.
can decide to not give them that key.
They do, I'm sorry, she was talking.
But how can you do that? If you accepted them.
He
And
shows
then
up
you
with
don't
the
give
key
him
and
a
then, sees their place is just too much of a mess and everything, and then he just, I'm sorry, we can't accept you. Based on how they're.
One thing you can do maybe as an angle with your Section 8 people is a lot of times we have really great Section 8 tenants because they know if they get evicted,
Yeah.
they're gonna lose that voucher, and that's as good as gold to them.
Yeah.
So hold that over their head, say, hey, you know, you're gonna lose your voucher unless you take better, good care of my.
Section 8 will do an inspection as well.
They do a yearly
If you,
inspection.
if you ask them to do an inspection, they will, and if
Oh,
they
yeah.
find that the past tenant has done a bunch of damage to your property, then they'll get them off the section, and they won't give them that voucher anymore.
You still have to pay
Yeah, maybe
for
it's
it though.
Yeah, you still have to pay for the the
There's
damages.
some kind of fund I've heard about, they have, but that, again, you're not gonna get much out of that, a fund that doesn't have, but that housing
But she
has.
told
Don't
me
count.
she was
Yeah.
very
With
careful
section,
not to
seeing you have done
screw
a
up
section
her.
that you get with an inspection, it seems to me that they're sort of with the tenant. She's crazy.
I haven't felt that to be the case, no.
Overall, looking at your side of it and the tenant side of it.
Yes, and if anything, they're on my side, just maybe 51-49. Very fair, good experience with Section 8 inspectors.
I would agree with that, because there's very few people that actually take Section 8 vouchers. They try to stay happy with, staying good with people that they.
Yeah, but now they're making it for all of us, so they might not be so amiable.
Yes, sir.
A question about tenants and other tenants. For instance, we're gonna buy a duplex upstairs and downstairs, and the upstairs tenant said that she moved her refrigerator to clean behind it, and the lady downstairs called the cops on her.
Seems a bit extreme.
Yeah.
She's schizophrenic, but the thing is, how do you address complaints by tenants against their neighbors?
You know, it takes tact, it takes some diplomacy, something like that.
You encounter that? You encounter that?
I've honestly not encountered a schizophrenic.
Well, all right, but at least a tenant complaining about
Daily.
their neighbor. Too much noise, too much smoke.
You know, first it's a verbal warning. If it happens again, maybe a loud stereo, then it's a written notice. Maybe even another written notice with more severe language written in it.
30-day with cause.
Yeah, 30-day with cause. Maybe out of the 8 years of doing this, I've had maybe 1 or 2 cases where I actually evicted someone because I got constant complaints like that. So,
Do you ever get someone who complains, who makes a false?
yeah, you need to take heed to who is doing the complaining.
Yeah, right. Well, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's valid, but still,
But it may not be, right?
it may not be.
Do your due diligence. Yes, ma'am. She's had it up for a while. Let's-
I
ladies first.
understood in the past that landlords that were taking Section 8 tenants had to sign up for Section 8. Is that still going to be the case?
Yeah, some of them have been waiting for that voucher for years and years and years. Gosh, it was like a year ago I had a gal said, yes, I got my voucher. 8 years I waited.
Yes, I've heard that.
It's not a-
Some of them are for a lot of money.
The prospect, long.
3-4-year waiting period, I was just following on that.
3-4 right now?
Well, you can't, sometimes. If they
And on the
want.
last that are trying to become Section 8 themselves.
Yes, sir.
Many of us, we have never had a Section 8, and I've heard it's very complicated process to start or to bring someone in. How bad is it? What does it take?
It's not too bad. It does require a little bit of extra paperwork administratively. You need to make sure your I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and they do an inspection. It's maybe 2 pieces of paper, I think, that you have to sign. They have to sign. You fax it or email it back to them, and they schedule an inspection. So it's a little bit more, but I wouldn't say it's really difficult.
It seems overwhelming, but it's really not.
So you still ask to fill up the application and it goes to the background check and
Exactly.
all those, and these processes afterwards, so it takes a lot longer to get someone in because Now you have to do the paperwork and wait for them to come and inspect, and then they report to you. So
Usually the only thing that might take a little bit of time is the inspection. I wouldn't say it takes a lot longer to fill a vacancy if that's your concern. They're pretty quick about that, they're sensitive to that, so they know that that's a landlord's concern, vacancy means money lost.
Not only that,
But
the
sometimes the
tenant
inspections can be 4 or 5 days out. That's a concern.
And how about the security deposit? Who pays that, the government or
The
the?
tenant,
Pays an
tenant,
extra year, saving you.
as well as the pet deposit.
She had a question in the corner?
Well, I was just wondering, in terms of the inspection for section 8, is that like costly then for the property manager? Like, do they come in and inspect the property and then say, you need to do like GFCIs and stuff, and so you have to do that?
Correct. So,
In the new
but you know, that's a good thing, because the inspections are fair, and so if they do point out saying, hey, these windows don't have locks on them, or this or this,
Right,
you know, that,
right.
that's fair enough. You should provide that as a responsible landlord.
So first you have signed for section 8 to get inspector, or inspector can come first before you decide to have somebody.
Well, a section 8 person has to apply for your property. And once you accept that tenant, the paperwork goes to the section 8 office, and you make arrangements with them to come out and do the inspection. And if they approve your property, then the tenant knows that they can move, and then you fill out the paperwork to begin getting paid for your property.
Yes, sir.
Procedurally, what do you do with your checklist? You just, you maintain it in the
Definitely.
file? Do you share it with the tenants? Or
Sometimes they do ask for a copy, and we're happy to give them a copy.
Sure. Do they make these in duplicate? I mean, with
They do, yeah, the Rental Housing Association
Yeah.
does. Yeah. I think it's a white copy is the top and a pink in the back.
Mhm.
And then we send one to our owners too, to let them know how that's going, you know, so they know.
Now, if there's warnings and things like that, follow-up inspections, you just do that by letter, or?
You bet, and then document it, and there's forms for that as well. Keep a paper trail, protects your interests.
On this section 8, whether it goes through or not, but it looks like it will. If you have a problem somewhere down the road, are you dealing directly with the tenant?
Yes.
And if that problem cannot be rectified, you can give them a 1430 or 1460 or whatever?
You can, and you wanna make it a practice, every time you send the tenant a notice, send section 8 a notice. Even if it's just for, you know what, this person didn't pick up after their pet pooped in the front yard. Every time, copy it.
What I've done is, I'll call their monitor or whatever's at the section 8 housing and say, this, can I do that?
Yep.
Make certain I'm on the right ground.
And they're usually on your side.
And it's home forward now, by the way.
Home forward?
Home forward.
What does that mean?
That's the name of it.
Oh.
Everyone's still used to the old section 8 lingo, but it's
Yeah, so that people know.
Forward.
Put a stop sign.
What was the fair housing class?
Section 8 has a bad connotation.
When and where?
They're up around the world.
So it's after 8, so we'll say the official class is over, but stick around for a little bit.
It should be.
Thanks, y'all. Oh, and please fill out the report card too. So we can
Yeah,
tweak it as we go along.
so,